inside comes the 9 car of Logan Wilson. Could a rookie go to victory lane in the first race of the Snickers Cup Series? Let's see. White flag was displayed in the air. Wilson has the preferred line. Now Cropley may let him go and maybe put a move on him when they get to the tri-oval, but here comes Kenny McCurry. McCurry may try and take away the second position from Cropley. He's now going to maybe make a peek to the inside. No, he won't. Instead, he's the drafting help for Colin Cropley. This is bad news for Logan Wilson. He's going to have to hold off the charge from the 29 car, who will undoubtedly try and make his move here, exiting turn number 4 and into the tri-oval. Here we go. Down on turn number 4 for the final time. Will Cropley make a move? No, he can't. It's going to be Logan Wilson, the rookie, goes to victory lane in the first race, the Hershey's 400 of the Snickers Cup Series.
Well, John Dillon and Robert Band trying to, at the last moment, make a charge here, but I don't think they're going to be able to. However, they are staying single file. This may be a battle. I don't know. Let's see. John Dillon, Robert Band remaining single file. They're trying to get a run on the 29 car. They are closing in, but do they have enough time? Off of turn 4, John Brace continues to try and hold his ground, and they are not going to be able to catch him. John Brace holds off all charges, and he wins here today in the Daytona 500. Out of turn 4, he makes no indications of coming down pit road. Neither does Dougie Shears. Looks like Trent Whitney, the son of the Sprint Cup Series team owner Dusty Whitney. JJ Yellow drove the 46 for his father. He's driving the 46 here for Whitney Motorsports, and he wins the Daytona 500 under caution. Trent Whitney picks up his first career Snickers Cup Series victory in his third NNSCRA season. That is incredible. Ben Ward, Trent Dunham, T.O. Bain, Jacob Lawler, Jake Smith, Joe Smith. That's the 6 in this pack. The 6 who may decide this race. Here we go. Through turns 3 and 4. Does anybody look like they're out of fuel? Does anyone make any indication that they're headed for pit road? Quite possibly we'll see. Ben Ward, no. Trent Dunham, yes. Trent Dunham's headed for pit road. So is Joe Smith. So is Jake Smith. White flag in the air. 3 drivers will settle it out. It's going to be Ben Ward. It'll be Jacob Lawler. And it'll be T.O. Bain. Oh! Wreck! Ben and Barney get together! Brothers get together! The caution's probably going to wave. Barney Ward spins in turn 1. 2 brothers, Barney Ward and Ben Ward, the leader Ben Ward, get together in the turn 1 area. Jacob Lawler slicing and dicing his way through traffic. T.O. Bain right there though, trying to see if he can catch up. They've got a wall up ahead in the form of Preston Plower and Callum Wales, and they are going to try and slice and dice their way through. Jack Rich is there, Tim Walsh there, Seth Cole there, T.O. Bain's in the mix there. Here he comes. Can he use the lap car as a pick? It's Jacob Lawler leading. T.O. Bain's going to the high side. He's going to try and challenge for the high side. Drag race to the line. Lawler, Bain, Lawler wins by half a car length.
You got James McLeod. He's gone to the lead. Callum Wales now trying to take second place from Jake Cole. You got Punky, Dorrington, Mary Cole, Joshua Michaels, Dylan Young all in the mix. Austin Ogle, they've caught him, and he's holding up Dylan Punky. James McLeod has gone to the front. Callum Wales now into second, but McLeod has a little bit of a lead. That's not normally good. Callum Wales be able to recruit drafting help to be able to get the big run he needs down the back straightaway on the 51. No, they're going to split 3 wide. Chevrolets hold the top 4 spots, then the Ford of Dylan Young. McLeod leads the way. Then there's going to be Callum Wales. He will now take second, going to third. Mary Cole fourth. Jake Cole now takes fifth away from Dylan Young. Here they come out of turn 4 for the final time. Can Callum Wales make any move on James McLeod? He's looking. He's trying to get the inside. Cannot do it. James McLeod has won the 5th annual Daytona 500 for Tweenix Racing.
Here we go. Green flag comes out. Dylan Young's closest teammate is Felix Graves back in 7th. Barney Ward's closest teammate is Drew Austin back in 5th. McLeod has no Tweenix Racing teammates in sight. And here comes Barney Ward to the bottom.
Dylan Young, I guess he should have went to the bottom right there. That really hurt him. And McLeod got, he's under attack from the 99ers there, Amelia Navler. Where did he come from?
Barney Ward out in front now. Now maybe Dylan Young can slide in behind the 43, just in front of the 99. Maybe, oh no, doesn't look like it's going to happen. Here comes Drew Austin. Now this is big for Barney Ward. He's got a teammate that may come up here in second behind him.
Yeah, this really helps him out. 99s, wow, this is really spacing out. Barney Ward's got this at the moment. Dylan Young's still trying to get down.
coming out of the final corner in his final race, his final career start in the NNSCRA. But look at Dylan Young, crossover move! Not in time. Barney Ward in his final start wins the Daytona 500.
Wow, I just can't believe that. Wow.
White flag in the air, 1 to go. Can Charles Sanford hang on and pick up what would be his first career Snickers Cup Series win here in the biggest race of them all, the Daytona 500? He's coming up here on Sean Henley. Is Henley going to let him go? Will Henley give him the bottom? Henley's moving up there. He's allowing him the inside line, but wait a minute. Sanford did not really get underneath him that quickly. Here comes Bob Jones, Danny Wells, Jackson. They're all coming back into the party. And now Richard Johnson merges back onto the racetrack. This may not be over. Bob Jones, down to the inside of the lap car of Andrea Erickson. Does he have any drafting help here as they come towards the final turn? Sanford goes high side. Bob Jones splits the middle. Here comes Bob Jones in the 27. Out of turn 4 for the final time. Does Jones have anything for the Napa Toyota? Down to the stripe by a full car like Charles Sanford is going to win the Daytona 500 in Season 7. His first career Snickers Cup Series win. And Toyota for the first time picks up a win in the Daytona 500 as well. They have caught him. Now Iguchi all over the back bumper of the 48. Can Iguchi make a move? Trying to move that 48 out of the way. Here he comes. Here comes Makoto Iguchi. Trying to win here in his very rookie start, his debut in the Snickers Cup Series. Here comes Ralph Mason pushing him 3 wide for the lead. Between Collard, Cody Lamas, Makoto Iguchi. Coming out of turn 4 for the final time. Can Ralph Mason make a move on Iguchi? He's looking low. He was looking, but he's not going to get there. Makoto Iguchi for Rogers VA Performance Motorsports in his debut is going to win the Daytona 500 here in the 8th season of the Snickers Cup Series. Here comes Dylan Young up the inside line here helping as well. These guys have to catch back up to the back bumper of Levi McIntyre. Can McIntyre hang on just a couple more corners? Zach Buchanan's right there, though, looking for a big run as he's got Dylan Young drafting with him. Here we go into 3. Can Buchanan close up the gap? Here he is, right on the back bumper. Dylan Young there to help him. Will Zach Buchanan make a move here? Coming out of turn number 4. It's McIntyre. Buchanan. Will Buchanan look low? He's got to make a move. He's peeking. He can't quite make it there. McIntyre blocks, and Levi McIntyre is going to win the Season 9 Daytona 500. White flag displayed this time. Dunham looks low for second. Charles Sanford's got to do a lot of mirror driving as they start to catch up to some more traffic, but they may not be a factor. Trent Dunham still side by side for second as Sanford's going to try and throw the block into one. He does. Holds off those Sega's machine for one more time here, down the back straightaway. If Dunham makes a move, will anyone go with him? He's got London behind him. McIntyre there. Here comes Dunham looking low. Will anybody draft with him? Or can Dunham do it by himself? Sanford going to try and throw the block into 3, but Dunham is there. And London offers the drafting help. Here we go. Out of turn 4 for the final time. London gets a big run out of turn 4. Trent Dunham gonna mirror drive all he can. Here comes London. Help from Levi McIntyre at the line. It's gonna be the outside line. And the curse is broken. Trent Dunham has broken the Daytona 500 curse. And he has captured the last ever Snickers Cup Series Daytona 500.
Resurrected from obscurity, the Snickers Cup Series is back to bring you the 11th running of the Snickers Cup Series Great American Race Daytona 500. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Seth Cole. Pleased to be back here in the commentator's booth here on the NNSCRA Sports Channel as we get ready for a 100-lap event in which we may see our 11th different Daytona 500 champion in 11 different Daytona 500 events. So far, no driver has ever been able to win this prestigious event 2 times in their career. As you saw in the intro, there are a number of names that have won this race before, and a number of drivers in this field want to add their name to that list. 5 of those drivers are in this field here today. Jacob Lawler, James McLeod, Charles Sanford, Levi McIntyre, and the defending winner of this event, Trent Dunham, all look to try and capture their second Great American Race victory, while everybody else, another 37 drivers, try and go to victory lane for the first time in Daytona 500 history. Austin LaPlante starts on the pole position for this race. He was the fastest in group qualifying and managed to survive his Budweiser duel number 1. He'll start on the inside of Chris Washer, who was second fastest in Group Q and also survived his Budweiser duel to start on the outside of the front row for the Daytona 500. Austin Mongold will line up on the inside of row number 2. He was the winner of the first Budweiser duel, and alongside of him, a go-or-go-homer races his way into the Daytona 500 by winning Budweiser duel number 2. That is Aaron Henderson, making his Snickers Cup Series Daytona 500 debut. We are moments away from getting ready to go green, though, and we are going to go down trackside now for opening ceremonies, the invocation, the national anthem, and the command to fire them up as we go trackside now for all of these pre-race ceremonies.
Gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as the United States All-Army Color Guard presents our nation's colors. We would be remiss if we didn't take the time to remember those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice in the defense of this great nation.
Heavenly Father, let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for a beautiful day to race. Lord, we're mindful that these drivers need safety, their crews, fans here. We pray for that as well. On a Memorial Day weekend, we pray for the sacrifice that our armed forces, men and women, have provided us to give us our freedom. And Lord, we're thankful for the sacrifice that you've made for each one of us. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome Capital Nashville recording artist Darius Rucker.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Let's hear it for Darius Rucker for his performance of our national anthem. And it's time for the most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome retired Army Lieutenant Colonel and President of the USO North Carolina, John Falconberry, Master Sergeant Spanky Gibson, Gene Gibson, and Mary Gibson.
Race fans, Coca-Cola and the USO are proud to salute America's servicemen and women everywhere. To give the command, we have chosen a wounded warrior, Master Sergeant Spanky Gibson from the United States Marine Corps, who is joined by his parents, Mary, and retired Master Chief Petty Officer Gene Gibson.
Everyone join us in those famous words. Gentlemen, start your engines!
Command given. Fans are on their feet. There's not an empty seat to be had here at this 2.5-mile super speedway. Austin LaPlante, Chris Washer will follow behind the pace car. We have a total of 5 onboard cameras in today's race. Ironically enough, they belong to all former winners of this event. Let's go the furthest back. He ended up winning the Daytona 500 back in Season 4. Then he was driving a Ford. Today he's driving a Toyota. The Toyota onboard camera on the Snickers Extreme number 18 out of Joe Gibbs Racing of Jacob Lawler. He'll be starting near the back, but the Chevrolet onboard camera on the number 51 Target Chevrolet out of Tweenix Racing of James McLeod. The Coke Vanilla onboard camera on the number 03 Coke Vanilla Chevrolet out of Retro Racing Enterprises, Charles Sanford, the Season 7 Daytona 500 winner. The Ford onboard camera is on the number 99 out of Roush Fenway Racing, the Season 9 Daytona 500 winner, Levi McIntyre. And rounding it out, the Sega onboard camera on the defending winner of this event in the number 1 Trent the Hedgie Cessna McDonald Chevrolet out of Tweenix Racing, Trent Dunham. So, those are our onboard cameras. 5 of them in total. Who's going to win the Great American Race? Are we going to see the big one? And is this going to be similar to last season when it really came down to about maybe 10 to 12 drivers in the lead pack to settle out for the Great American Race? If this thing goes into a long green flag run, we'll see a lot of pit strategy. Here we go, though. The 11th Annual Daytona 500 is green! Austin LaPlante, Austin Mongold. 2 Ford Fusions. They were working together, it seemed, but now Mongold's going to pay the price. Is now down to his inside line comes the 83 of Jonathan Zorling, who was a driver who had to race his way in to the Daytona 500. Bob Jones right behind him. Up to this point, Ford has been the most winningest manufacturer in the Snickers Cup Series Daytona 500. They've gone to victory lane 4 times, including the very first Daytona 500 with Logan Wilson. Chevrolet has been to victory lane in the Daytona 500 3 times. Toyota went to victory lane in Season 7 with Charles Sanford. Dodge went to victory lane with Barney Ward in Season 6. We do have 2 manufacturers in this field that have not yet gone to victory lane. That's Audi, represented by Anthony McCrory, and Mercedes, represented by Nathan Hudson. Could we see one of them win the Great American Race here today? Here comes Luis Hernandez to the inside, but Seth Cole goes even lower, 3 wide. Drafting help there from Tweenix Racing teammate Sean Galligan. Seth Cole, Sean Galligan, James Qualls, and James Shelley on that inside line as they're getting really racy here. Early on, 3 wide, several rows deep, all fighting for track position here. Seth Cole will lead a lap in the BioShock Infinite Chevrolet. That car has had a very eventful speed week. Ended up upside down during opening practice at one point out of turn 2. Down the back straightaway they come. Drivers shifting lanes, trying to see which lane will move. Here comes Levi McIntyre up the inside line. Big run for him is, wow, that was almost 4 wide heading to that corner. James Qualls, James Shelley, Sean Galligan really close there. But there's Levi McIntyre. He's got DJ Curtis behind him as they're starting to push their way up towards the front. Ooh, Levi trying to make a move for second. James Qualls throwing the block. Seems a little early to be blocking, but these drivers fighting for every piece of real estate they can. All this going on currently behind Seth Cole and James Qualls. And now Levi McIntyre gets kicked up to the high line. Here comes Benjamin Miles up the inside line in the number 24. You'd think that in a prestigious race like this, the number 24 would have at least been to victory lane at least in one of these Daytona 500s. The 24 car has never won the Great American Race. And he's got his teammate right behind him, the 48 of Cody Lamas. So Hendrick Power now going to the front. And there's Johnny Gardner now moving up to third. If last year's Daytona 500 is any indication, be expecting to see that number 10 car up here at the front for most of this race, because he was really good in the Season 10 Daytona 500. Dylan Poteet working his way up there now. I think he just moved to 5th. Nathan Hudson's Mercedes there as well, as now it is the 24 of Benjamin Miles out in front leading the Daytona 500. Snickers Cup Series Daytona 500 has also had a lot of historical significance in the fact that 2 drivers have won the Daytona 500 in their very first career start. That was Trent Whitney back in Season 3, Makoto Iguchi back in Season 8. And also, 1 driver won the Great American Race in his very last Snickers Cup Series start. That was Barney Ward, when he won in the number 43 Dodge back in Season 6. We've also only had 1 driver ever win the Daytona 500 and the Snickers Cup Series Championship all in the same year. That was Trent Whitney back in Season 3 when he drove the number 46 for Whitney Motorsports. See a lot of stragglers there at the back. If I'm not mistaken, one of those, I think, was former Daytona 500 winner Jacob Lawler. Yeah, he's back here. James Silverfox, William Duncan, Jessica Shelton, Chris Dollerton, Charles Jackson, Michael Norman's here, as well as outside pole sitter Chris Washer and Emmanuel Hartnett. Not bad strategy, though. Benjamin Miles continuing to block lanes. Here comes Alex Tanker down to the inside for second off of Johnny Gardner. 3 wide back there. Jonathan Zorling up high. Tony Green in the middle. Charles Samper now working his way to the front as he's now up unofficially in the 4th position, getting pushed up there by the Ford Fusion of the Ford Taurus of Lyndon Wright. And we may have a battle for the lead here. Alex Tanker looks low, gets to the inside left rear of Benjamin Miles, and Toyota will go to the front for the first time today in the Maxwell House Toyota Camry out of Michael Waltrip Racing. So far, we've had Ford out in front with LaPlante. Chevrolet's been out in front with Seth Cole, Benjamin Miles, and now Toyota leads their first lap in the Great American Race. We'll now bring up your NSCRA ticker for you. See who's currently running in the top 10. Danny Wells and Trent Dunham have found each other. They are 4th and 5th on the inside line there, the 4 and the 1. Look at Charles Sanford peeking out of line for 2nd. Lyndon Wright says, nope, instead I'm going to go to the lead. Sanford says, all right, I'll push you there. And for the first time today, looks like Ford Taurus will be out front. Look at Benjamin Miles. He crossed 3 lanes, went below both Tanker and Sanford, and now Miles is up to 2nd. And Lyndon Wright will lead his first lap of the day. First time, I believe, in history in the Snickers Cup Series that a Ford Taurus has led the Daytona 500. The Season 1 Daytona 500, Fords were Fusions at that time, so I don't think we've ever had a manufacturer of Ford be a non-Fusion manufacturer, leading a lap here in the Great American Race. So history continues to be made here as the Daytona 500s in Snickers Cup Series competition continue on. Richard Johnson now battling side by side with Charles Sanford for the 3rd position. Last season, Richard Johnson ended up winning a restricted plate race at Talladega Superspeedway. It's going to be so hard commentating this race because this is not a full-fledged season. This is just one race, and the next Snickers Cup Series race you'll see will be the 12th annual Daytona 500. That's all we're running. We're not running full seasons here anymore in the Snickers Cup Series, just this one special event. So, it'll be hard to say heading into next week, so-and-so, the Daytona 500 winner, was going to have a nice points lead, because that's not going to be the case. Richard Johnson looking low, no drafting help. We'll have to tuck in line back in 3rd. Sanford does the same. Nathan Hudson right there in the 5th position. The new livery on his Hatsune Miku Mercedes-Benz. And Budweiser Duel winner number 2, Aaron Henderson right there in the 6th position. Jacob Lawler side by side with Trent Dunham, 2 former Daytona 500 champions. That's a battle right there for the 7th position. At the moment, as I look at it, we've got 3 former Daytona 500 winners right now running in the top 10. I'm also looking to see, we have a number of the rides that went to victory lane here in the 500 in this field. I believe only 2 of them are still being driven by the drivers who put those rides in victory lane. As Richard Johnson looks low for the top position. Can't beat Lyndon Wright to the line this time. Might be able to get him this next lap. But the very first Daytona 500 went to the number 9 DeWalt Stanley Tools Ford, and that was Logan Wilson. Well, the number 9 is still in this field, and it still is a Ford Fusion. Being driven right there, as you can see, the Camping World sponsorship for James Silverfox. The number 29 that John Brace put in victory lane in Season 2 is not in this field. A number of Richard Childress Racing rides, but the 29 is not amongst them, as Zachary Fitzwater failed to make the Great American Race. Lyndon Wright, by the way, managed to keep the lead. Richard Johnson did not take the top spot. Trent Whitney drove the number 46. That was a Chevrolet out of Whitney Motorsports. The 46 is not in this field. Jacob Lawler ended up winning the Great American Race in Season 4, driving the number 90. That was a Ford at the time out of Roush Fenway Racing. That's a pace car. Number 90 is not in this field. James McLeod put the number 51 in victory lane in Season 5. He still is in the number 51. There you see him running here with teammate Sean Galligan near the rear of the field currently. Barney Ward ended up going to victory lane in Season 6, driving the number 43. That at the time was a Dodge. We do not have it as a Dodge, but the 43 is still in this field. There you see it, the Ford of our pole sitter Austin LaPlante. Makoto Iguchi actually also went to victory lane here in the 500, driving the number 9. So James Silverfox has got a pretty good ride right now, I'd guess.
Charles Sanford ended up winning the Daytona 500 in Season 7, driving the number 55 for Michael Waltrip Racing. Trek Togger tried to qualify that ride into the Great American Race here in the 11th annual Daytona 500, was unsuccessful. Levi McIntyre drove the number 60 Ford for his own team of Heavy Metal Motorsports to victory lane the 500 in Season 9. 60 car is a Ford still in this race, but out of Mongold Motorsports now. Austin Mongold driving it in the Bit O'Honey sponsored Fusion. And then, of course, Season 10, Trent Dunham winning the Great American Race, and he's back in that very same number 1. There you see him currently battling with Luis Hernandez, trying to stay inside the top 5. Kyle Matthews was one of the drivers that had to start at the rear of the field because he made the race via owner points. He's already now up here into the top 5, driving the number 42 Mellow Yellow Chevrolet. So far, we have managed to make it a total of 15 laps and no yellow flag. So these drivers are racing hard, but they're racing clean. You'll also notice that the speeds are not exactly what they were during group qualifying sessions. That's because, being in a bigger pack, once we got to the Budweiser duels, NNSCRA mandating that the restricted plate be put back on these race cars, so that way we had good, clean pack racing. Talked with a number of drivers between group qualifying and the Budweiser duels, and they said that the key difference was that with so much speed, it was harder for them in their entrance to the corner. They would actually slide up as we got pit stops. Pit stops coming, and the leader is coming to pit road. Lyndon Wright, Luis Hernandez, and a host of others are pitting here. 17 laps into this race. So we know what the fuel window is, probably about 17 to 20 laps. That turns the lead over to the Toyota of Jonathan Zorling, who right now is side by side with Kyle Matthews. Now, one thing I do have to point out too is that these drivers may be trying to settle into a long green flag run. This race could potentially, it's not likely, but it could potentially go green the entire way. If that is the case, these drivers may be short pitting now to be able to make it on potentially maybe 4 or 5 stops. So we got to keep that in mind. Sounds like somebody stayed out to lead a lap. Kyle Matthews in. Looks like James Qualls was the driver that decided to stay out, along with Dylan Young and Jessica Shelton. They will be the last 3 that have to come to pit road. James Qualls, he might be out of fuel. I think Qualls is out of fuel. I think Shelton's out of fuel. They stretched it 1 lap too far. Are you kidding me? Is Dylan Young out of fuel? He's still under power. But oh, now, wait a minute. Speed is fluctuating on that 2 car, and the speed is decreasing. He's going to make it to pit road, but I think James Qualls, Jessica Shelton have both run out of fuel. Shelton looks like she's going to make it back to pit road. Still barely under power at 100 miles per hour. Same for James Qualls. So I think they'll still make it to pit road, but this is going to put them big time behind the 8 ball as they lost some valuable time due to all that took place. Leader after things cycle around could be Jonathan Zorling. They might potentially, though, be Johnny Gardner. We'll see as this thing cycles around. Shelton has made it to her pit stall. Qualls as well. Chris Dalton's got some damage, as does Chris Washer, Seth Cole. Sean Galligan extended stay on pit road as well. So something must have happened. Are we under yellow? Speed's decreasing on Johnny Gardner. We must be under caution. We are indeed. The caution flag is out. The first caution of the day here on lap 19. I'm assuming it took place on lap 18, just when they were coming to complete it. And this is going to be a huge, huge break for James Qualls and Jessica Shelton, who I believe both managed to stay on the tail end of the lead lap. Dylan Young, however, is behind the pace car. He might be on the tail end of the lead lap. This may not have been the timely caution Dylan Young needed. We'll find out, though. Johnny Gardner is currently scored as the leader, I believe, as Dylan Young would be on the tail end of the lead lap. So it would be Gardner, Zorling, Lyndon Wright, Jacob Lawler, Kyle Matthews. That would be the top 5, I think, when we go back green. But let's take a look and see what brought out this first yellow flag in the Great American Race. This was coming off pit road, and the incident takes place in turn number 1. They were double wide coming off of pit road here. Dylan Poteet and Chris Dollerton, and then Dollerton tries to get by on the high side, and Dougie Shears, I don't know if Dougie didn't realize he wasn't clear on the 12 or what, but just comes up right in front of him. John Cittadino gets a piece of it there, gets the wall, and then Dougie Shears gets sent down right in front of Seth Cole. There's Austin LaPlante, Anthony McCrory, right up close to Benjamin Miles. Wow, Emmanuel Hartnett nearly hits. There's Chris Washer nailing Seth Cole. Michael Norman, does he get through it? I think he does. Seth Cole, second time this week that he's been flipped over. Chris Dollerton ends up on his roof, and that's what brought the caution flag out. We went a total of 18 complete laps without any problems, and then a driver not realizing he wasn't clear coming off pit road after the first cycle of green flag pit stops, collecting a number of others, brings out the yellow flag. There's the pole sitter, Austin LaPlante. He's not going to be getting to victory lane today, I don't think. Dougie Shears, former Snickers Cup Series champ. Don't know whether to place that blame on the driver or the spotter. And there you see the pace car coming off. There's Dylan Young, still on pit road. Shelton as well as James Qualls. Seth Cole on pit road. Chris Washer, Chris Dollerton. Their days could very well be over. Pits are open. The leaders deciding to come back down pit road. They had just been on pit lane, but all deciding to come down pit road again. Looks like right side tires for Johnny Gardner. A little contact there with Charles Sanford. As we'll watch the battle off pit road here. Sean Galligan still an extended stay on pit road for the 44, so I don't think he was involved in the wreck. But something obviously amiss on the 44 as Jonathan Zorling easily gets out ahead of everybody. And the field now all leaving pit road. 38, I think, has got some damage of Emmanuel Hartnett. Looked like he had some rear end damage. I might be wrong. Michael Norman, hood off of his machine. He might have actually gotten into the back of the 38. Look at the 38. Yeah, he's got some damage. Nathan Hudson, James Qualls complete their service. There's a couple of drivers that are still sitting on pit lane, including the 44 of Galligan. And who's that other car behind him? Is that Chris Washer still on pit road, or is that Seth Cole still on pit road? Let's see. Whoops. That was not what I meant to hit. Dollerton, Washer, Cole, and now Galligan is getting service. And the lights are out atop the pace car, which means we go back green. Dylan Young is the leader. Jessica Shelton second, so they both actually, that caution flag really helped them. They are the top two. Lyndon Wright is in third, Jacob Lawler fourth, and fifth place scored is Pichu London. Not certain if that's correct, though. Well, I'm not sure the drivers know if that's correct. They're three wide right now. Gardner, Johnson, Luis Hernandez. I don't think drivers are knowing where they're exactly supposed to be. I don't think they were expecting to go back to green, and oh boy, this may not be a good restart at all. Oh man. Green flag's back out. I don't like the way this one restarted. We actually had a three-wide start here in the Daytona 500. It's going to allow Dylan Young, Jessica Shelton to scamper away. And I don't think either the 2 or the 02 took the option of coming to pit road under that caution flag. So they may be 1 to 2 laps shorter on fuel than everybody else, because everybody else decided to come to pit road. But that caution flag could not have worked out better for either one of these drivers, especially Jessica Shelton, who along with James Qualls had actually run out of fuel on the back straightaway after stretching it 1 lap too long. They had enough power to get themselves back to pit road, And then that caution flag played a big part into them staying on the lead lap. Battle on for second, Luis Hernandez, underneath of Jessica Shelton. Jacob Lawler right there in fourth. Let's try and update the drivers that are currently out of the race after what we just saw take place. Chris Dollerton, I think it's pretty safe to say his day could very well be over. Seth Cole, Chris Washer, Dougie Shears. Austin LaPlante, I believe, also is out of the race. Anthony McCrory and Benjamin Miles, I do have to look and see about those two. They're listed off the lead lap. Sean Galligan, we saw him get service, so he probably returned to the track. 34 of 42 drivers still on the lead lap, and there is a car up ahead, Chris Dollerton. So Dollerton is still in this, just trying to finish this race out with his wounded machine. He's got to get out of the way of his teammate there, though, and he's going to hold up the whole inside line. Holding up Sanford, McIntyre, McLeod, and now he moves up high. He's a moving roadblock right now is Chris Dollerton. This is not good at all. The last thing we need are slow drivers holding up a big pack of cars. That's exactly what he's doing. He should just pull to the apron here, but he remains on track. He's only going 175 miles per hour. The leaders have been going around 190, so he's clearly off the pace. We're sticking with this just to make sure that nothing happens as drivers try and gingerly maneuver their way around. And now John Cittadino slow in front of Chris Dollerton. Cittadino, who was actually on the tail end of the lead lap, I think is now falling a lap down. This has been one crazy 500, and we're only about a quarter of the way through it. We had a 3-wide start. We've got drivers dropping like flies, it seems. I believe Cittadino is now a lap down. He is indeed. Let's try and update some other drivers, see where they are. There's Benjamin Miles. He's a lap down, but he's still running. 35th place. Johnny Gardner has now scored 33rd. And he is on the tail end of the lead lap, they are saying. Let's see about when he crosses the line this time. Is he still on the lead lap? Yes, he is. James Qualls, he's still in the lead lap, 32nd. Michael Norman, 31st. There's Sean Galligan. He's about 3 laps down now, I believe. 2 laps down. Still running. There's John Cittadino. Not certain why he was so slow. Oh, yes, I am. Yes, he did get a piece of that incident, actually. Remember, he ended up getting some contact and slammed the wall. And there is Dollerton. They finally have made their way around him. So I guess things, for the brief moment, are settled out. But the leaders may be catching up there to a couple of lap machines. Well, actually, the lap machine of Benjamin Miles, lead lap car of Johnny Gardner. Speaking of lead, new leader, Austin Mongold will lead a lap here. After getting by Dylan Young, Luis Hernandez to second, and we've got a total of 7 drivers up in this current lead pack after everything got really disheveled, trying to work their way around the 2 slower cars of Chris Dollerton and John Cittadino. Mongold, Richard Johnson, Luis Hernandez, Dylan Young, Jessica Shelton, Jacob Lawler, and Stephen Pollard III, all up in this lead pack. I also failed to mention, I said that Audi and Mercedes had never been to victory lane. Well, I can also add Volkswagen, with Stephen Pollard III's Volkswagen Jetta in this field. You look up ahead, you got the 24 of Benjamin Miles, who has a teammate in this lead pack, Luis Hernandez, in the 88. So will he try and help block and help get his teammate to the lead? We'll see. Mongold drives it in as if he was ready to pass the 24 down low. 24 takes the inside line, however. And now Mongold will dive to the inside, trying to take the top position. So officially the drivers we know that are out of the race up to this point. Seth Cole will finish 42nd, Chris Washer 41st, Dougie Shears in 40th, the pole sitter Austin LaPlante in 39th, Anthony McCrory in 38th. Everybody else is still on track, even though we do have about 4 or 5 drivers that are a lap down. And we're about to have another one as Johnny Gardner is about to get put a lap down to the leaders. Question is, who will that leader be? Dylan Young with Stephen Pollard III will go back to the lead in the Orange Deuce. About 27 and a half laps completed. We'll complete lap 28, go on to lap 29 when they hit the stripe next time by. So far, if you haven't joined us recently, we've had a lot of stuff take place. We've already had technically 3 rounds of pit stops, 2 of them under green, 1 of them under the caution flag, as Dylan Young slices and dices his way between James Qualls and John Cittadino, both now lap machines. We had a 3-wide start because drivers couldn't figure out where they were having to go for the restart. And our only caution flag has been a miscue of drivers wrecking with each other coming off of pit road onto the merging lane of turn number 1. And now lap machines and slower cars are playing a big factor into spreading out this field. Dylan Young runs all by his lonesome now. Jacob Lawler, Stephen Pollard III there in 2nd and 3rd place. Richard Johnson there in 4th. And when they cross the line, we'll give you a full field rundown as Chris Dollerton makes his way back onto pit road. So Dylan Young is your leader. Jacob Lawler now 2nd. 3rd, Stephen Pollard III. 4th place, Richard Johnson. 5th place is currently James McLeod. He's about to lose that, though, to 6th place, Cody Lamas. 7th is Luis Hernandez. 8th, James Silverfox. 9th, Charles Sanford. And completing your top 10 would be Levi McIntyre. Bob Jones right now is in 11th place. 12th place, Jessica Shelton. 13th is Trent Dunham. 14th, DJ Curtis. Whoa, close call there. 15th, Jonathan Zorling. Tony Green, 16th. 17th place, Austin Mongold. Aaron Henderson is in 18th. 19th place, James Shelley. Completing your top 20 would be the 22 of Pichu London. 21st, Danny Wells. 22nd, Dylan Pote. 23rd, Lyndon Wright. 24th place, Simon Solera. 25th would be William Duncan. 26th, Kyle Matthews. 27th place is actually under contest. Charles Jackson has it. Back to 28th goes Alex Tanker. 29th place is Emmanuel Hartnett. 30th, Nathan Hudson. And I believe he is the last car on the lead lap. He is indeed new leader, Jacob Lawler, in the 18. So things seeming to settle out a little bit here as we settle into a long green flag run. We will take a commercial break here. Jacob Lawler, former Daytona 500 champion, is out in front here in the Great American Race. You're watching the 11th Annual Snickers Cup Series Daytona 500 on the NNSCRA Sports Channel.
All right, come on, you can do this. Now, I know you can do this. See? Got it. Told you. Very nice.
Everyone has a reason to live a healthier, longer life. What's yours?
Today's coverage of the 11th Annual NNSCRA Snickers Cup Series Daytona 500 is brought to you by Budweiser, King of Beers, and by Walmart. Save money, live better, Walmart. And by Wrangler, real, comfortable jeans. 35 laps just completed. Jacob Lawler out in front, Stephen Pollard III in 2nd, and Dylan Young currently in 3rd. Top 3 have broken away from the rest of the field, where you get back to a pretty good group of cars from 4th on back, trying to reel in this top 3. Want to make mention that during the first section of our broadcast, I mentioned that there had been 3 times the drivers have been to pit road. That is incorrect. The drivers have actually only been to pit road twice. Once under green and once under caution. We've only been under the yellow flag 1 time. As looks like Stephen Pollard III, Dylan Young coming in for the 2nd round of green flag pit stops here on lap 35. So the pit window is definitely somewhere between 17 to 18 laps. Kyle Matthews already on the pit lane. So 2nd and 3rd coming down pit road. Also worth mentioning, Dylan Young, Jessica Shelton. This is actually only their 2nd time to pit road when they come down on these round of stops. Shelton now in as well. So she and Dylan Young making only their 2nd pit stops, as they did not come down pit road under our 1st and only caution so far. So now the question, when will Jacob Lawler come to pit road? Jacob Lawler trying to make history, become the first repeat winner of the Great American Race in Snickers Cup Series history, and he's on pit road now. Cody Lamas, Luis Hernandez, they're coming in. James McLeod will stay out, and he will lead a lap. Bob Jones also staying out, along with Johnny Gardner. So now they move to first, second, and third. William Duncan there in the 26, just completing his service. I believe that's Lyndon Wright just ahead. It is indeed. Some other drivers just up ahead, just coming off of pit road. The only caution we've had so far today was an incident during the round of green flag pit stops back around lap 17. Drivers trying to merge back up onto the track off the excess road in turn 1. A wreck that took out many drivers early in this event, including Dougie Shears, Seth Cole, Anthony McCurry, pole sitter Austin LaPlante. Damaged many others who have been able to continue, like Benjamin Miles, John Cittadino. McLeod in, Bob Jones in. Johnny Gardner, I think, might have stayed out, although he is a lap down machine. Now scored in the 27th position. I think this would actually put him back on the lead lap. So this will more than likely cycle the lead back around, I would think, to that car, the 18 of Jacob Lawler, unless James McLeod and Bob Jones can have a really fast pit stop, get off pit road quickly enough, and be able to merge back onto the racetrack before Jacob Lawler gets around to him. There's your answer right there. They're just now leaving pit road, and Lawler goes on by for the top position. So James McLeod, Bob Jones, Charles Jackson were 3 that stayed out 1 lap longer than everybody else. Can't really work the calculator right now for every 17 to 18 laps, but those 3 may be planning this thing to go green the rest of the way. If so, they'd be able to stretch it 1 lap longer than the other drivers on track with them. We'll wait until Jacob Lawler crosses the start-finish line, and then we'll give you a full field rundown as best we can after this cycle of green flag stops. Getting closer and closer to the halfway point. Jacob Lawler crosses the line. He's about to encounter the slower lap machine of Chris Dollerton. Second place will be Luis Hernandez. Dylan Young runs third. Cody Lamas in fourth. James Silverfox is up to fifth. He's under fire for that position, though, from Levi McIntyre, currently scored in sixth. Seventh is Stephen Pollard III. Eighth, Richard Johnson. Battle on here for 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. You got Jessica Shelton, Jonathan Zorling, Charles Sanford, James Shelley, and Tony Speed. 15th place scored is Bob Jones. James McLeod will actually make that Bob Jones 14th. James McLeod now back to 15th. Battle on for 16th. That is Aaron Henderson underneath of DJ Curtis. 18th place, also under fire, Pichu London trying to take that from Austin Mongold, and Trent Dunham completes the top 20, trying to go for back-to-back 500 victories. 21st place is Lyndon Wright, 22nd, Danny Wells, 23rd, Charles Jackson, Simon Solera right now in 24th, 25th, William Duncan, Dylan Poteet, 26th. 27th place is Alex Tanker. 28th is Emmanuel Hartnett. 29th place is going to be Nathan Hudson. 30th place, Kyle Matthews. And that is the last of the drivers on the lead lap. For drivers that are a lap down, currently Michael Norman is a lap down in 32nd. James Quall's a lap down 33rd. He actually just went a lap down. Might have actually just gone 2 laps down. We'll wait and see when the ticker updates itself. That might put him 2 laps off the lead. And indeed that is the case. Johnny Gardner actually just falling off the lead lap too, as he just came to pit road. So James Quall's 2 laps down now in 33rd. Benjamin Miles also 2 laps down 34th. Sean Galligan 2 laps down in 35th. John Cittadino is 3 laps down in 36th. Chris Dollerton 6 laps down in 37th. Those are the drivers that are still running. Drivers that will not be completing this race: Anthony McCurry, Austin LaPlante, Dougie Shears, Chris Washer, and Seth Cole. Our entire front row for the start of this race are gone. And they were pretty much gone before we even reached lap 20. Jacob Lawler enjoying the view right now, but he may not be enjoying the view very soon. Luis Hernandez has now broken away for second, but there's a nice group of cars right here that are starting to produce some pretty good speed. and beginning to run down the top two. Levi McIntyre, Cody Lamas, James Silverfox, Richard Johnson, and Dylan Young all begin to reel in the 88. And if they can reel him in, that'll add another car to their party as they will attempt to then run down the 18 of Jacob Lawler. Looks like Luis Hernandez going to merge right in here with these guys, and now Jacob Lawler could be in very much trouble very soon. He could get freight trained. Next car ahead of him is Michael Norman, just now coming out of 4. He'll probably encounter him this lap, will Jacob Lawler. And if he encounters him around the same time that this pack of 6 from 2nd on back through 7th catch him, then he's going to be a sitting duck. That time by, they cut it down by about 4/10. Lawler now puts Norman between himself and 2nd place. Let's see how this group of cars do as they encounter the Bass Pro Shop Chevy. It's going to slow him up a bit, it looks like. Silverfox jumps to the high side, though. Richard Johnson goes with him, and now they'll split him down the back straightaway. But they did close up the gap between themselves and Jacob Lawler. Now Lawler has Richard Johnson, James Silverfox there riding side by side for 2nd. And now they've bunched back up into single file formation. Young, Lamas, Hernandez, and McIntyre. Up in this lead group, only 2 of these drivers have already won the Great American Race. Jacob Lawler back in Season 4, Levi McIntyre back in Season 9. Could have a battle for the lead here this lap. Richard Johnson, James Silverfox working together have reeled in the Snickers Extreme Toyota Camry, and here comes Richard Johnson for the lead. Silverfox going to go with him. Silverfox may be able to get enough of a run to go 3 wide into 3. Is he going to be close enough? He's going to be there, and he will go for it. 3 wide for the lead. Silverfox, Johnson, Lawler, and look how quickly 4th place on back's going to catch up now. Lamas, Young, Hernandez, and McIntyre reel them in. We've now got a pack of 7 up here at the front. James Silverfox going to lead that lap. And with Silverfox up here at the front, this could be the first time that we'd have a ride go to victory lane 3 times in a Daytona 500 event. I mentioned earlier that the Season 1 Daytona 500 was won by Logan Wilson in the number 9 Ford Fusion. Season 8, Makoto Iguchi in her very first career start put the number 9 Ford Fusion in victory lane in the 500, and now James Silverfox has an opportunity to do the same thing here 3 seasons later. It's also quite a diversity up here at the front as far as manufacturers are concerned. We've got 3 Fords, 3 Chevrolets, 1 Toyota. Audi is out of this event. Anthony McCrory retiring early. Stephen Pollard III, he's in the 8th position, but he's about 5 seconds behind this lead pack for Volkswagen, and Nathan Hudson's Mercedes is somewhat damaged and off the pace. He's just barely hanging on to the lead lap. As a matter of fact, there you see him on the left side of your screen. They're about to reel him in and put him a lap down. I believe that would then leave us with 29 cars still on the lead lap, as now James Silverfox jumps up to the high side, and Nathan Hudson will go a lap down to the leaders. Moves right up in front of Levi McIntyre now, and will hold up the outside line. Well, we know that Jacob Lawler, Levi McIntyre, they're up here, but how about the other 3 former Daytona 500 winners? Where are they currently running? There's James McLeod. Right now he's actually in the 8th position, battling with Tony Green in his Daytona 500 debut. Bob Jones there, Stephen Pollard III. There's Charles Sanford, Daytona 500 winner from Season 7. Right now scored in 13th. He actually is now going to lose 13th to James Shelley. Got to go quite a ways back before you find the one of Trent Dunham. There he is. Right now scored in the 26th position by himself. And to put into perspective, Nathan Hudson was lapped running in the 30th position, so Trent Dunham, leaders may not be too far behind him. He's at the start-finish line now. The leaders, now they're on the entrance to the back straightaway. So he has about half a racetrack between himself and the leaders. But you got to think a lot of these guys, like drivers just ahead, Emmanuel Hartnett in his debut race here, Kyle Matthews, they're hoping, they're praying for a caution flag to come out, but it's not looking like it's going to happen anytime soon with the field as spread out as it is. Jacob Lawler, Richard Johnson have now broken away with the lead. James Silverfox, did he pit? Oh, nope, he fell back there to third with Cody Lamas. Probably some drivers having difficulty getting around Nathan Hudson. Now Luis Hernandez and Levi McIntyre, Dylan Young trying to regroup here. There's Tony Speed, Bob Jones, Stephen Pollard III. These guys have all kind of broken away from each other as they're trying to get around the slower machine of John Citadino. Retro Racing Enterprises up here together. Jessica Shelton and teammate Charles Sanford. They started one behind the other, I believe, in the starting grid. At one point, Shelton was actually up close to the front. Sanford had fallen back. I wasn't sure exactly if they were going to get back together, and it seemed like after the round of pit stops that we last had, they've now found each other again and trying to work their way up into the top 10. Slower car of Chris Dollerton going to be a problem here for third on back, as now they'll work their way around the wounded Snap-on Ford out of Penske Racing. Emmanuel Hartnett has now gone a lap down. Kyle Matthews now has suffered the same fate. So now he's the first car one lap down in 28th. Richard Johnson side by side with Sean Galligan, or make that with Jacob Lawler, as they're behind the lap machine of Sean Galligan. Galligan currently, I believe, 2 laps down. Just ahead is Benjamin Miles in the 24, who is also off the lead lap. That time by at the line, Richard Johnson, by about a splitter, will lead that lap. Sean Galligan appears to be up to speed with the leaders, as does Kyle Matthews. They just lost the draft. Sean Galligan had an extended stay on pit road after the first round of pit stops. We're still waiting to hear what happened to him. Spent about 2 laps on pit road with no visible damage. As Richard Johnson leads, it looks like maybe he's indicating he's coming to pit road. Kyle Matthews dove up to the high line there. And no, apparently not. Richard Johnson did not indicate he was coming to pit road. Kyle Matthews jumped up to the high line there as if he was trying to give the 47 some room to be able to make his way to pit road out of turn 4. But Richard Johnson remains there, and I believe we're under yellow. We are under the caution. And that's a huge break for guys like Alex Tanker, Trent Dunham, because who knows, within maybe 15 to 20 laps, they may have been off the lead lap. Kyle Matthews really would have, I think he wished that caution would have come out just a little bit sooner, as he will fall a lap down to the leaders. The caution flag is out. Not exactly certain what for, as Chris Dollerton runs the apron yet again. Maybe something to do with him? That car is actually, I don't think that car is under power. I think the engine is off. And there looks to be visibly more damage to that machine than there originally was. A lot of damage on the left side. I wouldn't be surprised if he pancaked the inside wall or something, as that car is gingerly limping its way to pit road. So that's what apparently I would think could put us under the caution, possibly something involving Chris Dollerton. We will confirm that though. But first, the leaders are more than likely going to be making some pit stops here. They last pitted, I think it was on lap 34, 35. They would be just close enough to their window to have to come to pit road. So here they come. Everybody will be coming to pit road. I don't see anybody rolling the dice and staying out. Richard Johnson, Jacob Lawler, James Silverfox way back there. He's like 6th or 7th in line, but he scored 3rd. As the lap machines are also coming down pit road with the leaders. James McLeod and Charles Sanford are both on pit road as well. You got to think maybe something involving them with the 12. John Citadino on pit road. Nathan Hudson is on pit road. So now more of the players into what could potentially have been our second caution of the day begin to emerge as we see the carcasses of their machines sitting on the pit lane. And for James McLeod, Charles Sanford, those are 2 drivers that were up just inside the top 15. Richard Johnson first off. Dylan Young will come out in second over Silver Fox McIntyre, and then a drag race for fifth. Jacob Lawler beating out Luis Hernandez. So as drivers complete their pit stops, look at this traffic jam coming off here at the tail end. Drivers complete their pit stops. Let's take a look and see what puts under the caution flag just past the halfway point here for the second time here in the Great American Race. Now, here's what happened. This was somewhere around, I believe, the 8th position. Stephen Pollard III I don't know, he just drove it in there and drove straight into Chris Dollerton. Now, I know Dollerton was off the pace, but Stephen didn't really go try and dive low. And there's Nathan Hudson. There's Jessica Shelton. Nowhere for her to go. Her teammate Charles Sanford nowhere to go. He actually bounced up into the air. Look at the car wheel hop. James McLeod involved there as he has the 03 on top of him. Jonathan Zorling just narrowly avoids. Sanford's car is upside down, and then Dollerton tries coming back up on track, and I don't think anybody else gets involved, but I'm not certain. That's two former Daytona 500 winners who were running really well involved there. Sanford's car finally does land on all four wheels. But, oh my goodness, let's take a couple of onboards here. Onboard Charles Sanford. Man, you can hear him out of the throttle trying to avoid as well. Oh, and then right there, that's John Cittadino. He got Nathan Hudson in the aftermath of all that. Take a look at Charles Sanford's wild ride on board James McLeod's onboard camera. The 03 just kind of bounced in the air, it seemed, and bounced right down on top of James McLeod's Chevrolet. That's what put us under the caution here for the second time here in the Great American Race. We're getting ready to go back to green. Well, getting ready to go back to green, it appears we're going to have another staggered start like we did on our last restart. These drivers are given only one lap to be able to find where they're supposed to be in line. Apparently the spotters are not doing a good job telling them where they need to be. But as they line up, it'll be Richard Johnson, the leader. Dylan Young is second. Third, James Silverfox. Fourth, I believe, would be Jacob Lawler. Levi McIntyre in fifth. Luis Hernandez sixth. Tony Green is, I think I've been saying speed. I meant Tony Green is in seventh. Eighth, Bob Jones. Ninth, Cody Lamas. And completing the top 10 should be William Duncan. And that's indeed the case. A lot of lap cars up here that the leaders have to contend with. As Richard Johnson's going to scamper away. He's got a bit of a wall between himself and second place. Emmanuel Hartnett and Benjamin Miles racing side by side. James Silverfox, Dylan Young unable to get either line moving. And now looks like James Silverfox will actually open up a lane on the inside line 3 wide, and he will now start moving forward, bringing with him Jacob Lawler, Tony Green, Bob Jones, Cody Lamas, Stephen Pollard III. Got a couple of drivers that have now made their way up to the front that we really didn't see earlier on. I'm seeing the 22 car of Pichu London, former Melbourne Cup Series champion. He's now up here. I think he may have just cracked the top 10. We just mentioned William Duncan was up there restarting in 10th. DJ Curtis is also up here as well in his second career Daytona 500. James Silverfox now out in front, took the lead from Richard Johnson, but here comes some players we haven't talked about yet today. Tony Green, his debut into the Daytona 500, trying to lead his first ever lap. Bob Jones up here as well in the 27 for Michael Norman Motorsports. Another driver making his debut in the Daytona 500, Aaron Henderson in the 11. Winner of Gatorade, or make that Budweiser duel number 2. He's up here. Currently, I believe, scored in 11th place. After that,
incident that took place in the turn 1 into turn 2 area. We do have more drivers that have retired from the race, including the following. Both Retro Racing Enterprises drivers, Jessica Shelton, Charles Sanford, are out. James McLeod, Nathan Hudson, and John Cittadino have all retired, along with Chris Dollerton. Still kind of puzzling, that wreck that took place. Everybody pretty much knew that the 12 car was off the pace, and there was a clear lane to the inside for the 06 of Stephen Pollard III to be able to go, but he instead decided to run the middle line and hooked the 12 car in the left rear as a result. Cody Lamas, I don't believe the 48's led a lap yet today, but he's trying to do that right now. Jacob Lawler pushing him to the front. And now he'll move up, get the draft off of James Silverfox, controlling both lanes. Pulls back down low, and looks like the number 48 Lowe Chevy Impala out of Hendrick Motorsports will be leading his first lap of the day. Here on the completion of lap 57, on to lap 58. I mentioned DJ Curtis was up here. Well, there he is, the Bass Pro Shop Chevrolet, third on that inside line. He's up here in the mix, as is the 22 of Pichu London, the 11 of Aaron Henderson. Stephen Pollard III still up here as well in the Volkswagen Jetta. And then you got to drop quite a ways back from these guys. There's Bob Jones before you get to 12th place, James Shelley. How about Alex Tanker now up to 13th? He was in danger of going a lap down if we had remained green for some time. And being fortunate enough to have that caution flag. He's still in the lead lap and now in the top 15. Dylan Young right there in 14th place. Luis Hernandez battling for 15th with Lyndon Wright. And we haven't really seen much out of the Tweenix boys here so far. Dylan Pote, Danny Wells back here 16th and 17th place right now. Simon Solera, we haven't really talked much about him in his debut in the 500. Right now running solidly in 20th. William Duncan right there in, I believe that'd be 21st, and former Snickers Cup Series champion Charles Jackson still very much in this, as he's in the 21st position. Jonathan Zorling there in 22nd, and Johnny Gardner, Trent Dunham trying not to lose the draft. Trent Dunham right there in the 23rd place. And if I'm not mistaken, well, Austin Mongold's actually in 24th. He might actually be the last car on the lead lap, Mike Mongold, and that's indeed the case. Mongold is the last car on the lead lap. 24 cars on the lead lap. A total of 31 drivers still in the race. James Silverfox has done a pretty good job of getting back up to the front after he gets shuffled out. Very strong Camping World Ford Fusion under him. We know that the Richard Petty Motorsports cars have been really good this week. Austin LaPlante, of course, the fastest in qualifying, sitting on the pole for the Great American Race. And James Silverfox actually had to race his way into the 500 or fall back on owner points. He didn't have to. He raced his way in via group qualifying. So we know that both of the Richard Petty Motorsports cars have shown a lot of muscle here, and no more so than the performance out in front that James Silverfox has been putting on. But I'll tell you who could be his main source of competition is that 18 of Jacob Lawler. Lawler has been up front all day long. Could be some surprise ones here, though. Don't count out Levi McIntyre, who's just now going to the inside of Jacob Lawler for the second position. Levi McIntyre, as I recall, was another driver who had to race his way into the 500 and did. His Daytona 500 victory back in Season 9 came in a Ford Fusion. And he's in a Ford Fusion here today. Got to be impressed with Tony Green in the number 8. He's done a really good job of keeping himself out of trouble and trying to see if maybe he can finish with a top 5, maybe a victory in his very first Snickers Cup Series start here in the Great American Race. A little bit of pushing and shoving there for the 5th position. DJ Curtis unceremoniously moving Stephen Pollard III out of the way.
See the 34 of James Shelley here. It's hard to think of him as a veteran since we haven't really seen much of him, and I think a caution could be out. It is. The caution flag is out. I was going to mention James Shelley made his Snickers Cup Series debut back in Season 9 when he drove the 014, but the yellow flag is out. And apparently it involves William Duncan, another lead lap machine who is having a good run involved in this one, and that car is not under power. Johnny Gardner also on the pit lane. And just when these drivers were going to have to start thinking about green flag pit stops again, the caution flag comes out. William Duncan still trying to coast that Maxim number 26 to pit lane, I should say. I was going to say victory lane, but I think that's the last place that Toyota Camry is going. He might not make it to pit road. And the leaders will more than likely be coming to pit lane this time. So the 26 may have to lump it and teleport to pit road rather than coasting down, because he's going to be right at the pit entrance when the leaders come. And they will come this time. There's no doubt about it. I don't see anybody strategizing and staying out. Everybody makes the indication they're coming to pit road, and that 26 car is still, well, he's just now gotten onto pit lane. He may get to his pit stall before the leaders get there. Oh, this is going to be close. Sower Fox has a pit stall near the rear, and yes, William Duncan did make it in. So fortunately, the 26 gets in before causing any problems on pit road. James Sower Fox not going to beat Levi McIntyre out. McIntyre with a fast pit stop there. He may be first off pit road. Let's see. Not certain who the leader is. Wait, there's a couple there. Jacob Lawler may be first off of pit road. He will. Levi McIntyre comes out second. Then it's Tony Green, Richard Johnson, then Sower Fox, Curtis, Pollard, Henderson, Tanker, and Lamas will come out in 10th. Oh, contact on pit road there between Dylan Young and Charles Jackson. Dylan Young kept going. That slowed the momentum of the 54. Trent Dunham, service complete. The lap car, Benjamin Miles. And now the last few drivers, Austin Mongold still on the lead lap, and William Duncan will continue on, but I believe he's now fallen a lap down to the leaders after what we just saw. So, the leader off pit road, the 18 of Jacob Lawler. His team gets him out first. Let's take a look and see what put us under the caution for the third time here in the Great American Race. Well, watching this pack, the red and white machine of James Qualls, he might have had a little help there from Cody Lamas. He shifts lanes to go to the inside, but Lyndon Wright is already there. And Lyndon's going to turn Qualls down into the grass area, and then this is where William Duncan's going to get collected as the cars go spinning through the grass. I believe it's going to be the 70 of Qualls. Well, both Qualls and Lyndon Wright keep their cars straight. Back up the racetrack. And who's going to be the one that's going to get Duncan? It's going to be the 81. Oh, commitment cone just got killed as well. Bob Jones gets collected in that as he gets turned around. Lyndon Wright then, I think, might have gotten a shove from Kyle Matthews, who, along with Danny Wells, Charles Jackson, takes evasive action to go to the inside. That's Dylan Poteet back there behind the 26 and the 27, caught behind those two. Was kind of boxed in. And then Johnny Gardner, Trent Dunham. Dunham clears. Johnny Gardner not going to be so lucky as he hits the 26 in the rear. And also will go sliding through the grass into the turn 1, middle of turn 2 area. And that's what put us under the caution flag. So basically, Qualls, Wright, Jones, William Duncan, possibly Dylan Poteet, and Johnny Gardner all getting together here in an incident entering the tri-oval, making its way all the way down to the exit of turn number 1 for our third caution of the day. Getting ready to go back to green. Another disheveled restart here. Jacob Lawler the leader, McIntyre second, Green, Curtis, and Johnson the top 5 as the green flag is back out here on lap 65 of 100. We got a total of only 35 laps to go when we hit the stripe next time by. These laps have been flying by because most of them have been under green, although we have worked 3 caution flags. Levi McIntyre now going to the lead. Just double checking, but I do believe that possibly the 10 car of Johnny Gardner has gone behind the wall. Let me confirm that. William Duncan we know has continued, and Johnny Gardner is not in the field. So the 10 car is behind the wall, retired from the race. Johnny Gardner will get credited for 31st. So 30 cars on the racetrack, only 23 of them currently sit on the lead lap. Levi McIntyre, I believe this might be the first time he's gotten out in front in this race today. Richard Johnson there in second. Battle for third between Curtis and Green. Jacob Lawler with teammate Aaron Henderson up here. James Silverfox, Cody Lamas, Alex Tanker, Stephen Pollard III, all still very much in this. And I think we have a little bit bigger of a lead pack than we did on the last restart. Danny Wells is now up in this lead group, as is Lyndon Wright. Simon Solera trying to catch on to the tail end of this group as well. And he is successful in doing so. You got Luis Hernandez here, Charles Jackson, Zorling, Dunham, all on the lead lap. Mongold. Dylan Young with some right side damage on his machine. That undoubtedly the contact that happened between himself and Charles Jackson on pit road. New leader, Richard Johnson, now out in front. So far, we've been able to really see who the strong machines are, and most of them are right up here at the front right now. Richard Johnson's been out in front quite a bit. Jacob Lawler has. Levi McIntyre's worked his way up here. James Silverfox. Cody Lamas, DJ Curtis, and Aaron Henderson have actually been up here for the last 30 or so laps as well, so don't count them out. Not certain at this point who's led the most laps, but if I had to wager a guess, it would either be the 18 of Lawler or the 9 of Silverfox. They'd be pretty close. But don't count out some of these possible shockers. You got Danny Wells now up in this lead pack for the first time. Lyndon Wright is up here now in the Ford Taurus. And James Shelley there in the 34. Pichu London also up in this lead group. So there still could be a surprise winner that could roll the dice, play out some pit strategy, maybe get a timely caution, and be in the right place at the right time when the checkered flag waves to finish off this race. Speaking of Pichu London, he's now making a move for second place underneath of Jacob Lawler. Luis Hernandez, he's caught up to this lead group. He's now back up here. We saw him and his teammate Cody Lamas working together earlier. Now they're going to be able to try and find each other in this lead pack again. Slower cars up ahead. One car just pitted. That's Austin Mongold, who I think is still on the tail end of the lead lap, but barely. And then the slower machine of William Duncan, who they're going to encounter, and this could be trouble. Pichu London trying to power around to the high side and succeeds as William Duncan holds up everybody. And that brought up Trent Dunham and company. Now they're up in this lead group as everybody now tries to begin to make their way around William Duncan. Now he holds up the middle line. Jacob Lawler, Danny Wells, Aaron Henderson all getting held up. Now he moves up and blocks James Shelley. Look at how Dylan Young was able to reel in all these guys. Whoa, Jacob Lawler not happy with William Duncan. Literally ran him up the racetrack there. And now he's holding up Shelley, Galligan, and Dunham. Galligan's a lap down. Shelley and Dunham, though, they're not going to be too pleased, as now they're going to go to the inside of William Duncan. And that could have just lost them the draft, too. I don't know if the leaders encountered Austin Mongold yet or not. Top two have broken away. Pichu London, Cody Lamas. There's Mongold. Maybe about 18 to 20 car lengths ahead. Cody Lamas to the inside for the lead off of Pichu London. That's going to allow third on back to reel them in. Look at Simon Solera. Talk about just riding around, minding your P's and Q's, staying on the lead lap. He's up in the 7th position now in the Wonder Bread Chevrolet. What a great run he's having. Richard Johnson to the inside line now for the lead off of Cody Lamas. Lamas did not lead that last lap. Did not beat Pichu London to the line. Lyndon Wright now up into 5th. 6th place, Stephen Pollard the 3rd. 7th is Solera. Hernandez 8th. Green 9th. Lawler 10th. And they've broken away from 11th place, James Silverfox. Now they're catching up here to Austin Mongold, who is currently scored 23rd on the tail end of the lead lap. There's William Duncan, who was just on pit road again and will not play a factor into holding up these leaders. Mongold is, I believe, up to speed. So he's not really holding these drivers up, so to speak, except for the fact that he had no drafting partner, whereas the leaders did. So he did hold them up, but not nearly as bad as a number of other drivers have so far today. Johnson tries to go low, but the duo down beneath him, and Levi McIntyre, Cody Lama is going to freight train him and move to 1st and 2nd. It's going to be close for these drivers again to have to start thinking about pit stops. I think these drivers, when we went back green, are still going to have to pit at least 2 more times. So they got to keep that in mind as well. Levi McIntyre now out in front. Lama 2nd, Johnson 3rd. Then a lap machine now of Mongold between themselves and 4th place Pichu London. Then this is where it's really getting hairy. From 5th place, Luis Hernandez on back. Got Danny Wells in this group. Charles Jackson is in this group now. He's starting to make his presence felt. Jonathan Zorling in the 83. Haven't talked much about him. He's in this group too. Next car for these leaders to encounter would be Bob Jones, who is on the tail end of the lead lap. Jones involved in that last incident involving William Duncan and others. He's 22nd right now on the scoring chart, and maybe about a turn and a half ahead of the leaders, and obviously not up to speed. Austin Mongold tucking in line here. If he can stay with the leaders and bypass Bob Jones, that's another position on track. That would move him to 22nd, move Bob Jones back to 23rd, and Mongold appears to be up to speed. Top 5, which technically is the top 4 right now, have broken away with the lap machine of Austin Mongold. And they're making some pretty good speed right now as they try and open up their distance between themselves and the pack of drivers from 5th on back, Luis Hernandez, Danny Wells, James Silverfox, and a host of others. And not really racing amongst themselves, remaining single file are the front 5. I'm going to say the front 5, but keep in mind the 60 of Mongold is not on the lead lap. But since he's up in this lead pack, I'm going to refer to him as the front part of the front 5. This group, though, is seeming to start to get their affairs in order, trying to reel in these front 5 drivers. Mongold and Pichu London have both lost the top 3, and that may decrease their speed and slow them down a little. We'll see. The last time by, Luis Hernandez was leading the group, and they were about 2.6 seconds back. Let's see this time if they've been able to close the gap up at all between themselves and the leaders. Last time 2.6. This time 3.1, so they did not close up the gap. They actually lost some ground. And McIntyre, with the help of Bob Jones, goes around the outside line in sole possession of the lead. 2nd on back, having some difficulty getting around the Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet, and now they go to work. Johnson, Lamas, and London, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, move on by. Mongold now caught behind Bob Jones, and ooh, Bob Jones throws a block, and I think he might have just gotten turned. No, he didn't. He almost did. Mongold was not happy right there. And oh, Richard Johnson nearly ran over William Duncan. Hoy. As the race winds down, nobody's willing to give an inch, and William Duncan's going to be a moving roadblock once again for these drivers. If he would just move up higher, then everybody could get by him, but no, he's going to stay in the middle line. holding up Danny Wells, Tony Green, and Stephen Pollard III. Just when it seemed like that second pack was making progress, William Duncan got in their way, and now Danny Wells, I think, just forged a hole to the inside, but I don't think he's going to be too thrilled with the 26. I think the 26 making some enemies out there. Levi McIntyre now reeling in Michael Norman, just bypassed the lap machine of James Qualls, and now he'll go to the inside of Michael Norman. Slicing and dicing his way through traffic. Lap traffic could very well be the deciding factor into who's going to victory lane here today. Makes me think back to season 4, when it was Ben Ward who was going to win the race. His brother, Barney Ward, blocked him after merging off of pit road, wrecked him, and Jacob Lawler was the one that came around to win the race. Winning the race with an assist to lap traffic. That could be the case here today. 6, make that 7 seasons later. And Levi McIntyre gives up the lead. He's coming to pit road. Pit stops begin. Pichu London is also in. Richard Johnson decides to stay out. So this is going to be at least the second to last time I would think these drivers are going to have to pit. They're going to have to pit at least one more time, maybe another. Who knows? After this round of pit stops, 17 more laps would put them somewhere around lap 97. I don't know if they would be able to stretch it another 3 or 4 laps. Drivers that might be able to stay out an extra lap or 2 on this run might be the ones to benefit from making it all the way. Let's see if they're coming to pit road. Everybody's coming with the exception of Luis Hernandez. So Luis, who's getting some draft off the back of the 60, may be able to conserve a little bit more fuel for one more lap. He's going to try and risk it. Remember again, the fuel window is about 17 to 18 laps. So if Luis comes down pit road this next time by, he'll be somewhere between maybe 2-3 laps short. Everybody else is definitely going to be at least 3 to 4 laps short with coming down when they did. I believe Lyndon Wright might have stayed out. Yep, he did. And did anybody else stay out? No, everybody else came to pit road. So it was just Luis Hernandez and Lyndon Wright who decided to stretch it an extra lap. Now here comes the 88 to pit road. Lyndon Wright, is he going to come to pit lane as well? Yes, he is. So as to who will cycle around as the leader, that remains to be seen. It could be Luis Hernandez. It could be Richard Johnson. We will find out momentarily. Is Luis Hernandez going to come down? Definitely going to be 4-tire stop, you would assume. No, only right sides. But you gotta wonder, did they get that car completely full of fuel? Lyndon Wright down and away. I'm not sure they even took any tires on that machine. Luis comes off pit road. Lyndon Wright will follow him off. We're waiting to see where the leaders are. I do not see them. Oh, there they are. And they are probably going to pass Luis Hernandez coming out of turn 2 here. Couldn't tell who was heading the group, though. More than likely was Cody Lamas, because he crossed the line in 3rd, and yes, it is. Now going to bypass William Duncan, Richard Johnson following him, and Cody Lamas will probably blow by his teammate here in 3. Taking over the lead after the cycle of pit stops. Moves down there, got a little side draft off his teammate to try and keep himself ahead of Richard Johnson. So Cody Lamas emerges as the leader now. Richard Johnson would be in 2nd. We'll give you a full field rundown here. Lamas crosses the line and is officially now the new race leader. Richard Johnson in 2nd, and the caution is out. So after the pit stop cycle around, the yellow flag is waving. Looking to see anybody is on pit road. I don't see anyone. There is some left side damage on the 42 of Kyle Matthews, but I don't know if that's what brought out the yellow or not. Field was kind of backed up here. But
Nobody appears to be damaged in any way. I don't know what this yellow flag is for. But now is the big question. Do you risk come down pit road to top off and then more than likely you're able to make it the rest of the way on fuel? Or do you stay out and keep your track position? This is going to be very interesting to see if now these drivers are going to come down pit road just a couple laps after they made a round of green flag pit stops. Will they come to pit road? What are their crew chiefs thinking? Right now, they are outside the fuel window. They are about 1 to 2 laps short. If they come down and pit, they more than likely can make it the rest of the way on fuel. That's exactly what they're thinking. They're coming to pit road. So it's still going to be close, but now they have a better chance of more than likely making it on fuel the rest of the way to the checkered flag. Cody Lamas leads the entire field down pit road. Let's take a look and see what brought out our 4th caution of the day here with less than 20 laps to go in the Great American Race. Well, almost shades of what our last caution was takes place here. Kyle Matthews, not realizing that Pichu London has a run on him, moves down the racetrack, in essence blocks him. And then Kyle just gets turned off the nose of the 22 up and into the outside retaining wall. I think Pichu London was able to keep his car straight. But Kyle's car spins around, almost collected drivers such as Lawler, DJ Curtis, Simon Solera. But that was enough to bring out the yellow flag there. A solo car spin basically in the exit of the tri-oval puts us under the yellow flag. Kyle Matthews, Pichu London getting together, and that puts us under the caution flag for the 4th time here. Oh, and we had some contact there too. Didn't even know that. James Shelley and Alex Tanker, and it sent Tanker down into Kyle Matthews. So there was a little bit more contact that we didn't know about. But that's what put us under the yellow flag, and it will bunch everybody up for a little less than 20 laps left to battle for the win here in the Great American Race. Another disheveled-looking restart. Not much we can do about that, but here we go. Richard Johnson's the leader. Levi McIntyre second. Then it's going to be Silver Fox, Lamas, Hernandez, Lawler, Curtis, Wells, Solera, and Lyndon Wright. That's your top 10. Green flag back out here with 17 to go. Sounded like a sour engine further up here. That's Kyle Matthews. He's returning back to the racetrack, and these drivers may be encountering him very shortly. I'll bet that's the last thing they wanted to have was a slower car right up ahead of them in going back to green, because these drivers have not had much of an opportunity to be able to battle in a big pack up here at the front. And we're about to have maybe 3 wide. DJ Curtis looking to the inside. Drafting help from Simon Solera as he rockets his way to the lead. Jacob Lawler there as well. And they are going to catch Kyle Matthews. They got to pick a lane. DJ goes high. Solera stuck in the middle, is not going anywhere. Lyndon Wright got a good run on the inside line though, and he's looking for the top position. As now Kyle Matthews shifts up to the high side. And again, just like we've had most of this race, the field getting broken up into bits and pieces. It's like a grenade explodes, and the little shards of debris go this way and that, and that's what we're basically left with when a lap car plays havoc with the group of lead lap machines. Cody Lamas puts a fender to the inside. He's looking for the top position once again. Lost the lead off of pit road after our last round of pit stops. DJ Curtis gonna go low with him. At the line, it will be Cody Lamas leading this lap. 15 to go here in the Great American Race. We've worked 4 caution flags. Have we seen our last one, or will this race these race drivers, I should say, get bunched back up at least one more time with another yellow flag? Meanwhile, as these 3 battle amongst themselves, you got Jacob Lawler and teammate Aaron Henderson. They're in 4th and 5th, trying to catch back up. Austin Mongold is on the lead lap. He's in 6th. He was a lap down at one point, I believe. Danny Wells there
7th, 8th place James Silverfox, 9th Simon Solera, Pichu London. After the contact we saw him have with Kyle Matthews, he's still running solidly. I believe he's currently scored in the 10th position. Wait for official scoring, that is indeed the case. 11th place, that's where you find Jonathan Zorling. 12th place under contest, here comes last year's winner, Trent Dunham up the inside line, trying to bypass Tony Green in the 8. Dylan Young there, solidly running in 14th place. And then you got Luis Hernandez, Richard Johnson battling for 15th. Back up to the front. Let's see if the leaders have been reeled in yet. There's 4th place Jacob Lawler. And it appears they are slowly catching the top 3. Last time by, Jacob Lawler, well actually Aaron Henderson was 4th last time by, and he was about 1.4 seconds back. Let's see at the line now where 4th place is in relation to the leader. 1 point, well, basically just a full second, so they cut it down by about 4/10 that lap. And they're slowly reeling them in. Those bits and pieces of drivers that got held up by slower machines are now starting to reel into a big pack. And as they continue to race amongst themselves for the lead here, Cody Lamas, DJ Curtis, Lyndon Wright, that's just even more helpful for 4th on back to reel them in. And here they come. Lawler, Silverfox, Danny Wells, Solera, Henderson, Mongold, they're all about to make it a big pack of cars again. And as the laps tick away, take a look in your screenshot right there. Those might be the drivers to settle out this thing for who's going to victory lane. Out of all these drivers in this lead pack, only one driver has won the Great American Race so far in his career, and that's Jacob Lawler, who undoubtedly has had one of the strongest cars today and now finds himself up here at the front late in this race. I wouldn't count out some of these guys that are suddenly making an appearance up at the front, though. Danny Wells. We really haven't seen him running up here in the top 10 very much this race, and now he's up in this lead pack. How about Aaron Henderson making his rookie debut, and he's got a teammate up here in former Daytona 500 winner Jacob Lawler. And how about Simon Solera? Almost the same kind of deal as Danny Wells. Been running mostly top 15, top 20 for most of the day, and now he's up here trying to win his first ever Daytona 500 in his first career Snickers Cup Series start. Cody Lamas saying, though, if you're going to win this race, you got to get by me. The guy who may be the one to answer the call is right on his back bumper, Jacob Lawler in the 18. Danny Wells 3rd, Henderson 4th, Silverfox now 5th, Curtis in 6th, 7th place, that's Solera and Lyndon Wright 8th. Those top 8 are in this lead group. Mongold trying to catch up with them, trying to stay with them. Might not be able to do it, though, as now it's 8 drivers in the lead pack against 1 driver trying to catch up. I don't know if Mongold can remain the slipstream or not. Here comes Danny Wells to the inside for 2nd off of Lawler. And Henderson works against his teammate to push the 4 car to 2nd place. Less than 10 to go. About 9.5 laps remaining. Down the back straightaway they go. First car they would encounter would be James Qualls. He's now in turn 4. Leaders are in turn 3. They will more than likely catch James Qualls before this race is over. I don't know why, but I'm getting so much of a Season 4 Daytona 500 vibe where lap machines could come into play in the closing laps of this race into who's going to go to victory lane. Cody Lamas looking strong here. Has been able to turn back all comers so far. But will he be able to get around James Qualls easily here? They go down the back straightaway. He'll try and make the slingshot move into 3. Doesn't make it. Almost gets run over there by Aaron Henderson. And DJ Curtis powers by for the top position. The bad news for DJ is, though, Qualls got kicked up to the high side, and the other remaining 7 drivers were able to bypass him and remain close together in a pack. So they're going to reel in DJ Curtis fairly soon, I would think. DJ needed them to be held up behind that slower machine of James Qualls just a little bit longer. And unfortunately for him, that did not happen. And all other drivers from 2nd on back through 8th place were able to remain together in a pack, and they'll produce speed to run him down. Another slower car up ahead. 2 slower cars. Michael Norman and Kyle Matthews. Now this could be extremely interesting in the fact that 2 slower cars are running in close proximity to each other. So it's going to be a little bit of slicing and dicing these leaders are going to have to do. As soon as they cleared one lap machine, they'll have another one they'll have to deal with. And they have caught DJ Curtis. Little contact there between James Silverfox and Cody Lamas as Jacob Lawler splits them 3 wide. And here comes the inside line. Lawler's got help. Lyndon Wright, Danny Wells, Aaron Henderson, Simon Solera as Silverfox and Lamas begin to fall back. Oh, I don't like where they're going to catch these drivers too. They're more than likely going to catch them heading into 3. DJ's got to make a move. He's looking low. He goes low. Lawler going to go low, but he gets kicked to the high side. Danny Wells makes it 3 wide and kicks Lyndon Wright to the middle. And now DJ jumps high on Michael Norman. And the leaders have still not, from second on back, been able to clear Kyle Matthews. Now they do. Now they got to clear Michael Norman. Jacob Lawler to the high side. Looks like he's going to be the one to move to second. Danny Wells will move to third, as Aaron Henderson gets held up behind Michael Norman. Next car, Benjamin Miles, quite a ways ahead. They may not encounter him. There'll be 5 to go when they hit the stripe. DJ Curtis in a good spot right now because he's out in front, but also there's not much drafting help yet for Jacob Lawler to be able to reel in the 14. These guys might be the ones that are going to benefit. Danny Wells, Simon Solera, Cody Lamas, and Lyndon Wright are all together. And they'll be able to catch Jacob Lawler easily and then reel in the leader DJ Curtis. But as they continue to try and work their way through lap traffic, when a driver breaks away like DJ Curtis has been able to do twice, time is running out for them to be able to reel him back in. 5 to go now here in the Great American Race. And here we go. Danny Wells looking low for second. Lawler thought about looking low for the lead, but Danny Wells reels in both first and second place. And Danny Wells may have thoughts for the lead. Simon Solera right there to offer the drafting help. Here we go. Wells keeps it low. Solera, Lyndon Wright offering the drafting help. Danny Wells looking to go to the front. To the inside comes Danny Wells for the lead. Tweenix Racing has 2 Daytona 500 victories. James McLeod back in Season 5. Trent Dunham, the defending winner of this race. Danny Wells trying to become the 3rd Tweenix Racing driver to win the Great American Race. Total of 4 laps to go here at Daytona. DJ Curtis back to the inside, looking for the top position once again. Right there, folks. Those are the drivers that are going to settle this thing out. Curtis, Wells, Lyndon Wright, Silverfox, Solera, Lamas, Aaron Henderson, Jacob Lawler. Those are the drivers that are going to finish out this thing in the battle for the win. Even if the caution were to come out, it would still be these drivers up in that lead pack that would settle it out for who's going to race it back to the caution flag and potentially the finish of this race. Wells peeks out of line, thinks better of it, tucks back in. Lyndon Wright looked ready to go with him, but Danny Wells deciding not just yet. Benjamin Miles ahead. Just now entering onto the back straightaway. The leaders are in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Well, what I said about them maybe not encountering the 24 may end up being a reality. We'll see. 2 to go when we hit the stripe next time by. Lyndon Wright dives to the inside line. James Silverfox will go with him. Ford Fusion helping Ford Taurus. And they're going to slide up. Is Curtis pitting? DJ Curtis is pitting! I told you they were close, but I thought they could make it, but apparently DJ Curtis could not. And it looks like this race may end up coming down to who can make it on fuel. Benjamin Miles had to come to pit road. You see Emmanuel Hartnett there just leaving pit road. Other drivers just leaving pit lane as well. There are 2 laps to go. Less than 2 to go here in the Great American Race. It's going to come down to who's got enough fuel to get to the end. Here's Silverfox looking to the inside line for the top position. Aaron Henderson offering the drafting help.
Whoa, Cody Lama sticking it in there 3 wide for the 3rd position, as now he rockets into 2nd place behind James Silverfox. Are any of these leaders going to have to pit? They're staying out. They're going to risk it. Solera has lost the draft. There's now 6 drivers left to battle it out. White flag displayed. 1 more lap to go. Cody Lamas to the inside of James Silverfox for the win. Jacob Lawler right there. Danny Wells, Aaron Henderson, Lyndon Wright. Can they make a last-minute charge? Lamas is clear for the top position. James Silverfox tucks back in 2nd. Will he make a move to the inside? Here we go. Crossover down the back straightaway. Silverfox makes the move to the inside. Can he get to the left rear? Yes, he can. Side by side into 3. Slower cars ahead. Will they be a factor? They could very well be. Out of turn 4 for the final time. James Silverfox leads them down here, trying to get by James Shelley as they come to the stripe. James Silverfox is going to win the 11th annual Daytona 500. He got passed for the lead out of 2, tucked back in line, made the crossover down the back straightaway, and with the inside advantage out of 4, he drag races to the line to take the victory. And looking through the history books for the 3rd time, an unprecedented 3rd time, in the 11 Daytona 500s we have had, the 9 car goes to victory lane here in the Great American Race. 3 times, the 1st Daytona 500, the 8th Daytona 500, and now the 11th Daytona 500, the 9 machine, will go to Gatorade victory lane. For James Silverfox, it's his first Snickers Cup Series Daytona 500 victory, which means the streak continues. 11 Daytona 500s, 11 different race winners. Wow. James Silverfox. What a strong machine he had all day, too. I don't think that car really ever fell outside of the top 20. There were a couple of times after rounds of pit stops that he kind of fell back from view, but brings himself to the front at the right place at the right time, and James Silverfox wins the Great American Race. Jacob Lawler so close to becoming the first 2-time Daytona 500 winner. He'll have to settle for 2nd. Cody Lamas led a good majority of this race, but just wasn't quite able to lead the most important half lap. He led the first half of the final lap, but did not lead the second half, and that was the important time to be out in front. He'll have to settle for 3rd. Aaron Henderson, what a great debut here for him. His first ever Snickers Cup Series race, and he'll come away with 4th place. And Danny Wells, solid run for him in 5th. The rest of your top 10 finishing results: Lyndon Wright in 6th. Simon Solera in his debut gets 7th. 8th place was Dylan Young. 9th place Jonathan Zorlin. And completing your top 10 was Richard Johnson. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the 11th Annual Snickers Cup Series Daytona 500. 4 caution flags during this race, a number of lead changes, and an exciting finish that saw James Silverfox go to victory lane for the first time in Snickers Cup Series Daytona 500 history. Hope you guys enjoyed. Sometime, someday, we'll be having the 12th Annual Daytona 500. Hope you'll tune in for that when it comes out. Also want to mention that the signups and everything for that, they'll be coming. I'll announce that whenever, but it's going to be a little while before that actually happens. So, once again, thank you everybody for watching. Hope that you enjoyed. We'll show you now your full finisher results from today's Great American Race. You've been watching the 11th Annual Daytona 500 here in the Snickers Cup Series live on the SRA Sports Channel, offline racing at its best. From Daytona International Speedway, I'm Seth Cole, signing off.